Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made the trip. You got Mike and Dan. Dan or Dank. You can call me anything but Layford Din Din. And we're here to do some stories about cannabis, marijuana, medical marijuana, and I might even find some hemp along the way. And yesterday, Sunday, was the town hall meeting up in Portland that I didn't get in, neither one of us got a chance to go to, but it sounded fairly good. A lot of talk about legalization. The only problem was the organization MPP, Marijuana Policy Project. They're saying that they're going to kick in $700,000 to help us get the legalization ballot get it on the ballot in 2016.
Yeah, 4 years down the road with money they don't have in their bank, and would probably help us organize and raise it. But still, 4 years seems like at this point too long to wait.
Definitely. The reason that they're looking at 2016 is they want to do a presidential election, which has a larger turnout of voters, plus a larger number of young voters, and which is beneficial to that. But like Mike said, that's another 2 years. We've got people in jail now and more heading that way, so we got to get something done. And we already pretty much decided here in Oregon that we were going to do a ballot in 2016. Actually, two of them is the latest word. So it's kind of interesting to hear the MPP and all talking about helping in Oregon again, and they're already on the wrong foot, kind of the way I see it. But
well, I think the answer is here in Oregon. I think the answer is with the people that live here. You know, this is the time is to really act is right now. Washington just announced that they're going to do it through the legislature to legalize for recreational use, and we're still bickering in this state about if it's medical is even valid. You know, so I think Oregon could easily step up and catch up to the rest of the country.
I always said that Oregon was the first state to decriminalize less than an ounce of marijuana, and I always thought that Oregon should be the first state to legalize less than an ounce of marijuana, but we didn't make it.
Lost that opportunity, yes.
But you're talking about states. I just come across a story today. The Hawaii House Speaker files a marijuana legalization bill, and that really caught my eye because Hawaii was the first state to get medical marijuana through the legislature. It wasn't an initiative. They went through the legislature and made the medical marijuana program. And so even though this is a very early attempt, and this is only one politician, but still, he's submitting it. It would, measure House Bill 150 would allow people 21 and over to possess up to an ounce and grow, and as yet unspecified number of plants in a secure location. But at least they're going through the legislature. I mean, that's
sure. You can work out the details later. At least they're trying. You know, I would like to see Oregon do that. I heard rumor that hey, maybe they might. Our governor is a doctor. You know, so I've always kind of wondered why Oregon tends to lag behind so much in this conversation. You know, the medical cannabis is making breakthroughs all the time where they're really finding out some amazing things about this plant, and yet we're still arguing if it's even a viable alternative, which to me it just seems kind of ludicrous at this point.
Yeah, and word is the governor's a toker. I don't know.
Maybe somebody has a picture of him. You know, I don't know.
I don't either. He looks like a stoner.
Yeah. Blue jeans. I mean, doesn't everybody wear Levi's? You know.
Yeah. But anyway, let's hope he does the right thing. And so we'll be talking that on and off as time goes on too.
Well, we could help him do the right thing by writing to him and letting him know that, hey, you know, we're concerned about this. We live in the state. We love it here. Why aren't we having a conversation about this?
That's right.
So.
Anyway, back to the town hall. U.S. Representative Earl Blumenauer, a Democrat out of Oregon, spoke about marijuana's growing prominence nationally. His strong support for reclassifying the drug from its current federal status, in which it is viewed as a drug with no accepted medical use. He also spoke about his support for reforming federal banking rules so legal marijuana-related businesses can get access to a full range of banking services. Blumenauer, a one-time Oregon state legislator, also had advice for Oregon and other medical marijuana states. Develop a system for overseeing medical marijuana. he said states have varying degrees of sophistication and consistency. When it comes to regulating medical marijuana, Oregon requires patients to grow their own marijuana or have someone do it for them. The state provides scant oversight of medical marijuana production.
It's, without good safe access, you really, in Oregon, your card is just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You really do patients a disservice when you can't offer them what is available, and it's just sad to see it.
Attorney told us the only thing Oregon medical marijuana law does is keep you out of jail.
Yeah.
It doesn't protect you from job discrimination.
No.
It doesn't protect you. It doesn't even. And as Reverend Will has pointed out many times, you're paying $200 a year, and the state doesn't do a thing about helping you get your medicine.
That's the crazy thing about it. Just say, hey,
$200
here's $200
and you're still
every
on
year.
your own for finding it. So.
Yeah. Just okay. What's wrong with this picture? And we don't get any help with the legislators saying, hey, we know what our other Western states are doing. We know the information. It's out there, but they deny to even debate this issue. Yet they just take more money from patients, people who are already hurting. Because I don't think in Oregon, can you get money from Health and Human Services to pay for your alternative therapy?
No. No. But I know a person that did get it.
Did you? That's good.
His worker wrote it up as something else.
Oh, so that's not a good thing.
Well, it didn't quite legally, but they manipulated the system, and he got his card paid for by the state.
Patients shouldn't have to do that.
No.
So
No.
there's another issue we could talk about, but maybe that'll be in my son's lifetime.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, this town hall meeting had a crowd of about 100 supporters, so that was great. Unfortunately, it was 120 miles from here. I didn't make it, but that's a bad thing about all this stuff going on in Oregon. It's kind of spendy to get up there. So anyway, we had a bunch of activists up there, and this was, by the way, another thing too. This article written by Noel Crombie, Oregonian. You hear that name? She writes all the marijuana articles, and about half of them, the activists are holding their noses.
That bad, huh?
They're not really happy with her in general.
But who pays for her rent?
Yeah, the Oregonian, and they're not exactly pro marijuana.
Well, but they did come out right after the election saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be nice if the legislature picked this up and ran with it?"
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in the Register Guard yet, but that probably won't happen. But
no, I can't remember. They were fairly. I can't remember now, but they were fairly conciliatory. What's that word?
Conciliatory toward it?
Yeah. So there seemed to be softening too. I've heard that paper been called a liberal paper, and I told my wife one time, I said, Register Guard liberal? I said, well, if they're liberal, I must be a flaming radical. She said, oh, you are.
Well, it's all from a perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, and then our big story is on our local football player, Josh Huff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know Mike is more of a sports guy than I am, so he can give more insight into that as far as being a football player. But the thing is that how he got stopped in the first place. This is a classic. This guy was driving an estimated 50 miles an hour along East 18th Avenue near the U of O campus just before 1:30 a.m. on March 3rd. The posted speed limit in the area is 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, to begin with, where's the brain power there? I mean,
Well, it sounds like, at least for that was kind of poor judgment on his part, but it seems that the police were convinced that he was under the influence of something and went to quite the extent to try to prove that. Seems they weren't able to do this, and of course we all know by now that he, went out in trial, but kind of an interesting few details about this particular process. I've been a victim of the drug recognition expert. And
you had a counter on one?
Oh yeah, long time ago.
Oh, I didn't know
Long
that.
time ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I was stupid and had
Now,
a little pipe with weed in it, and they go, ho, 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 ho.
Was that the time out on I-5?
Yeah, on 105.
Oh, okay.
I told you about it.
I know. Was that the one where you had your backpack and that whole thing?
Yeah,
I remember that. Definitely. I didn't know it was D.R.E. though. Wow.
Well, yeah, they called the guy in there, and
Okay.
he was convinced that I was stoned, but he couldn't prove it.
Yeah, drug recognition expert. I advise you, go in your computer, go in the search engine, type in Oregon, D.R.E., and do some reading on it. It'll scare you, but it's happening right now. These guys talk about police state. So anyway, so I said police later learned that a urine sample provided by Huff had tested positive for marijuana, backing the drugs expert's conclusion. But a second drug test came back clean. So anyway, he ended up being acquitted. And this is a thing that came out in the trial that I thought was interesting. I've never heard a law enforcement personnel or anybody involved in this whole thing say this, and we've been saying it for years. A urine sample that Huff provided to police while in custody tested positive for the presence of marijuana metabolites. A result that says, quote, nothing about whether a person is intoxicated at the time a sample is given, said State Police Forensic Scientist Lynn Howard told the jury. All a drug sample can show is prior use of a drug, Howard testified. Yep. So that's excellent. I'm going to be quoting that quite a bit from here on. Because
Lynn Howard is an honest person. I'm glad she works for the state.
Yeah.
Because that's a very honest statement. Washington, the state that I'm from, has, of course, the new legalization, and that's one of the parts that divided the community up there was the impairment level, which they're going to determine with a blood test, and there's currently about 150 people waiting just for that opportunity now.
In Washington.
Since this law has been passed.
Yeah.
So those are going to be interesting cases because technically there is no legal weed in Washington yet. But it's legal in everybody's minds up there. So maybe they'll start to look at the details of the new initiative and reevaluate what they do. Yeah.
The D.R.E. officer told the jury that he had conducted that Huff was under the influence of marijuana. Huff's pupils were dilated, his blood pressure was elevated, and he performed less than perfectly on a series of balance tests.
Well, I think sometimes people get nervous when they're on the police too.
Yeah.
I know I'm not really all that comfortable when.
Oh yeah.
When I had my little test, it was kind of intimidating.
Huff testified that his wobbly performance on the test was due to the cold late winter weather, as well as the fact that he's never been able to stand still on one leg very long. Anyway, that's so that's our finest that are out there conducting tests on our citizens, and I guess we can say our court system worked.
Well, speaking of the court system, the D.C. Appeals Court denied the marijuana rescheduling. This lawsuit's been in the works for years. Governors Association, even some legislators from California and Washington have been on the Department of Justice, the DEA, say, hey, why are you guys making this impossible for us? Why can't you, honestly look at this situation and give us some balance, give us some, how we can make this work? And they just said, nope. And then they also denied the means to be able to conduct the tests that they say that they need.
Yeah.
So talk about gaming the system.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Okay, well, we need to wrap things up here. We've got our friend Reverend Will coming on and be with us here for a while too. So I appreciate Mike being still in our state. And you going back to Washington?
I got to go back to Seattle here, but I will be back. I will be back.
Good. We'll get a report. We're going to get out of here then, so we'll be back.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations. Because if you smoke enough at home, you don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Welcome back to Eugene Cannabis TV. We got our second segment. We got our friend Reverend Will beside me, and you got DanK here. And we've wanted to start out with a couple of letters to the editors that were in the Medford Mail Tribune.
I am pleased to see Sheriff Winters is not going to let the feds make federal criminals out of Jackson County gun owners. No, sir, he's not going to enforce federal laws restricting the rights of law-abiding Oregonians to own guns. Not on his watch. The feds had better stay out of his county. No federal gun laws for him. Unless, of course, the gun laws affect Oregonians registered with the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program. Then he'll spend whatever time it takes to get the guns out of their hands and pretend that it's his sacred duty to enforce federal gun laws. And you can bet that Winters will battle endlessly to keep the feds out of his county unless, of course, they are arresting marijuana growers registered with the OMMP. Then he'll direct traffic for them so they don't get lost in the wilds of Jackson County. I'm sure Winters would rather you not notice this embarrassing conflict between his two positions on Oregonians' guns, but he shouldn't care. Winters should be just as proud to wear the yellow badge of the hypocrite as he is to wear that tin sheriff star. He worked so hard to get it.
That's signed by Laird Funk, an old-time activist, a good friend of ours. Yeah, and that sheriff is the one that made big news about not wanting to give concealed weapons permits to medical card holders because they were violating a federal law. Made a big stink about it, fought it right down to the end, and got beat in court. And so now he's forced to do that. So then he turns around and says he won't enforce federal gun laws. So it's a big contrast. Hypocrite. It's just wow. Should be lights flashing on that one. And in the same issue, in the next letter, the editor is by somebody else that I had never heard of, but it was made a good point too. It says apparently Sheriff Winters picks the laws he chooses to enforce. Regarding medical marijuana, he stated it's against the federal law, and he will hold all accountable to the law. Apparently, he meant he will hold all accountable if he agrees with the law. He has decided he doesn't need to uphold laws regarding assault weapons. I think that since he's an elected official, he should present a list of which laws he will hold the public to and which laws he will not. That was written by Catherine Estelle out of Medford. So yeah, it'd be interesting what his answer is to that. So I don't know.
Well, you know, this to me leads us to another point, and that is between the state, which apparently was responsible for the grow operation that happened over there, High Hopes. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was the state, right, that came in on that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Sheriff Winters must have really enjoyed himself at that point in time, just laughing about the fact that he didn't have to worry about the feds being the ones responsible for creating that case, because to me, between the feds and the state coming in and taking, and understand, my thing about High Hopes was that it was looked at as a role model for how things should be done, according to some of the members from Congress and stuff. Now, for me, we are not in any way able to hold caregivers here accountable for getting the best marijuana that they have to their patients. This is one of the big loopholes that nobody ever pays any attention to or talks about, which really makes me sad. Because these people have, first of all, no help from the government in getting a grower, right? They admit that flat out. There's no way that they can hold the people accountable for getting the medicine to the patient. So what the hell are they doing? I mean, this to me are the two things that were supposed to be done according to this law, was to get us our herb and to make sure that it wasn't something that the FDA wouldn't want us to have because of bad things that might be in it. But there is absolutely no control, and yet, once again, we're supposed to do all this, not have anyone to help us get our medicine, not to help anyone enforce the fact that the medicine we get is the best that they have to offer, but you know, we're going to pay them to keep track of us. This is the kind of thing where, to me, the government not being accountable in its process is one of the saddest things that we've got going on, folks, because understand, we're the ones that are supposed to hold them accountable. Governor Kitzhaber, Peter DeFazio. These people in their positions, they don't care about whether or not we get our pot, but understand what they should care about is all the money that they've been losing since Dave Frohmeyer did not change the law when he was the Attorney General. I mean, I talked to Dave at that point in time about how much legalization would bring money into the state. I don't know if anybody else did, but to me, I'm sure that Dave will admit the fact that I sat there for 40 days and 40 nights while him and Barbara Roberts were in office. And the only thing I wanted to talk to her about was making money for this state. And they didn't want to hear about it. Now we've got two mayors, a mayor in each of these cities who's been handed a disc that shows how Harborside is making money and giving it to the city council there to help with their school system. And yet they're going, oh, we're going to tax people in Eugene for wastewater. We're going to try and tax them for something else, you know. And the people have always said, we do not want to be taxed. So why is it that you choose people not to hear us saying we don't mind being taxed? It would be nice if we got paid for all the work we did in getting people their medical marijuana, because understand, none of you would do any of the work without being paid for it. I mean, that's what makes it work for you. So why is it that you blame us when we have to go outside the law in order to take care of ourselves and get ourselves our medicine because our government's too damn lame to do it? So why don't you folks wake up? I'm sick and tired of being told I need to wake up. I've got answers. I've got solutions. You don't want to hear them. Bill Morissette got out of office, and part of his getting out of office was because I'm sitting there saying, look, you're the ones who need to be drug tested. You're the ones who sit here and make decisions that affect all us people in this state, and the decisions you're making are poor. Letting violent criminals out of jail instead of letting people who grow pot out of jail. How much sense does that make? How come the sheriff, are you drug tested? I'd like to know. God, yeah. People are ridiculous sitting there talking about us, and you're sitting there not able to make decisions for yourself that could help the whole state and maybe the whole country.
That's right. And according to that, and like I mentioned earlier, the Hawaiian House Speaker is filing a marijuana legalization bill. This is a quote. He said, law enforcement resources should be focused on preventing and responding to serious crimes rather than enforcing antiquated marijuana prohibition laws.
Well, you know, the other part of it is the research. You know, I mean, understand, with our hands tied, we're able to come up with lotions and salves and honey and other things that can help us in our process to be able to deal with bodily pain. Look, folks, I'm 65. I've got pain in my body, and I want to take care of that pain. And I'm not doing any of these FDA drugs that they put out there that have all these friggin' side effects. I want a natural product that's going to take care of me. This is it. Marijuana does it for me. You do not have a right to tell me that I don't have a right to do the medicine that helps me the most, and you lame doctors out there who won't stand up for our rights to do the research that would get us the results that would help people. Cancer patients, why aren't you upset? Your families and friends in your families are dying because you don't have a right to check out and do research in the marijuana field. I've tried to tell you before, it doesn't matter how much money you raise if you're looking in the wrong direction. You're never going to find any cures. For one thing, if you can't figure out the fact that people on dialysis and people with cancer, one of their biggest problems is eating and holding down food. Hello? I mean, you sit down and talk about us all the time. All we do is eat, eat, eat. All we do is sit back and do nothing. If this helps these people to eat and to be able to keep the food down, guess what? They're going to have some energy to fight their illness. But because you're listening to this lame duck Congress that we've got that won't come out and do anything for us, hey, it's your families that are dying, not mine.
And speaking of the Congress, the legislature is about to go in session, so stay tuned. We're going to be having rallies in Salem, I'm sure, because the law enforcement lobby, I'm sure, will be trying to cripple the program like they do every year. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be needing people to go up to Salem, and I know it's a hardship. I know it is for me, but it's important. We got to be there. especially if you have a chance to see Reverend Will, shoot out the legislature again. That was he actually did. I was there. He pointed and fingered at them all and said, I want you people drug tested. He had a standing ovation from our side of the room.
The whole thing is that we just have not been able to hold these people accountable. And to me, all you veterans out there, you really make me sad, because understand PTSD, not just for us and us in the military, but also for women and children who've had domestic violence happening in their homes and stuff. Understand this about these kids now that are doing marijuana, that's helping them out. And people are going, oh no man, we shouldn't be doing this for kids, because later on down the road, they may be doing gateway drugs. Understand, folks, when you tell your kids that they can do anything and then you can't quit smoking cigarettes, what kind of message does that send? Huh? Think about it. You might be able to make a difference if you actually thought of how much of a difference you could make by actually helping us. That's the marijuana, folks. I know you hate hearing that word. Cannabis, is that a little better? Okay. Understand, we can make a difference. We've been helping hold your communities together forever. We've been the caregivers behind taking care of patients that nobody else wants to take care of. You know, I mean, understand, we do so much that you won't rectify. I know 2 people who've saved people's lives. You think there was anything in the news about them? Heck no, they smoke pot. That makes them bad people. I don't understand that. My friend Mark was saved by a woman. And a woman also saved another woman that was up on Mount Pisgah and broke her leg. Had to set it and help them get it down the hill. This lady is a pure pothead, and she did a great job. I'd love to say her name and say who she is, but there's the fear factor in our own communities.
I think a real quick word in here. Well, I hate to cut you off, but we're getting trying to do the thing. I want to, something just came to my attention. I want everybody to know that the cost the cost of your OMMP card, which is a medical expense, can affect your food stamp benefit, and so
in a
positive way. Thank you. I want to make that clear. Yes. So keep that in mind. If you're on food stamps and have a medical card, check into that. So we're going to wrap it up here. Appreciate it. We had a great turnout tonight.
We had some people come and visit us tonight. We'd like to have more. We'd like to fill the studio. We'd like to have people ask questions out of the audience.
Every Monday night, 7:30, Community CTV 29 behind Sheldon High School at 7:30 p.m.
Come say hi.
We're out of here. We'll see you next time.